Good night, everyone. I would like to welcome you to our first general meeting of the BFVA in some time. And I would like to thank you all for coming out. Um, I'm happy to see you folks here. And I hope as the night progresses, that I hope that more of our colleagues will join in. I have apologies from three of our board members who each had something come up last minute for them and they really wanted to be here, especially for this first meeting. That would be our honorary secretary, Andrew King, our public relations officer, Charlotte Thomas, and our membership officer, Portia Blackman, the latter two who may come in for a small bit. So first, what I would like to do is for those of you who are not aware, to make you aware of who our new board is. And I trust that everyone can see that. So our 2021 board. So on May 27th this year, we held elections for a new board. And further to that, we had a bit of a shuffle with our board and the addition of some people. And those are the people I'm going to present to you now. Our floor members, we have Nicholas King and Von Lee Smith. And these are the graphics that we would have used for our social media. So you can find the write-up of these individuals if you go to our social media, the BFVA on Instagram and the Barbados Film and Video Association on Facebook. Our membership officer this year will be Portia Blackman. Our assistant secretary treasurer, Rita Gay, and Charlotte Thomas as our public relations officer. Andrea King is our honorary secretary. Russell Bowen is our treasurer. Serving as our second vice president is Revelino Simmons. First vice president is Dominic Franklin, and yours truly, Romario Hunt, as the president. So we're going to go into our item 4, which is the president's address. So the BFVA was founded in 2008, making it this year a 13-year-old organization. Many organizations just do not survive past 5 years. In fact, 95% of startup businesses do not survive past 5 years. And I think that fact alone is testament to the dedication and the tenacity of everyone involved in the association and the motion picture arts industry on a whole, and our desire to have some form of representation for our passion and our livelihood. When the bylaws of this organization were enacted on the 9th of December 2009, it codified the mission for the organization. And these items are what our bylaws codify for us. So the mission of the BFVA is to be the primary advocate for the creation of an effective audiovisual policy and regulatory environment that promotes and supports the growth of professionals and businesses in the audiovisual sector, to establish internationally accepted industry standards and to ensure that members adhere to these standards, to establish and maintain an adequate and up-to-date database of workers in the profession, equipment and members projects, to establish and maintain and encourage continuing professional development, education, and training programs and require such for members, to promote collaboration and mentoring among members, to foster and promote linkages with regional and international film and video associations, and any other aim and objective that will further the advancement of members of the association. And the organization has done this in its 13 years with the provision of equipment for rentals, which would have afforded individuals to, if they don't own equipment, to at least have access to equipment so that they can do work. with the provision of training, workshops, and certification, like the level 2 CVQ that some folks would have done through the BFVA. A large one is the creation of the Visual Media Festival and all of the auxiliary benefits that have come with that, whether it be mentorship, training, or having a space for people to showcase their work to the public at large. And probably most importantly, the generation and being the champion for the Cultural Industries Development Act. All of these things are things that I believe that the association should be very, very proud about. The association in the last year and a half has been relatively quiet. And I hope all of us here can understand and appreciate why that was so. Battling lockdowns and declining work generally, in addition to everything the country has faced recently, um, everything the country has faced recently, and what every individual had to face personally, everyone had to buckle down and get their house in order, both literally for some and figuratively for everyone. But nonetheless, the organization has persevered. And frankly speaking, as a member of the previous executive of this organization, at one point we weren't sure if we were going to get a 2021 executive. But I am happy to say that right now we have 10 of the 11 positions of the board filled, which is the most that the board has been filled in a long time, at least for as long as I have been on the board, having 10 of the 11 positions filled. And that 11th position we hope to have filled really soon. So the organization is alive. However, there are some issues that we face as an organization, at least that's how I see it. This is my 5th year being on the executive of the association. And from what I've seen, our primary problem has been continuity, passing the information on from one board to the other. And the transition between one board to the other is clumsy because the way the bylaws are written, the new board becomes effective immediately after elections. There is no codified transitory period between the two boards, and that has financial implications. There's no codification for the conduct of elections of our organization, which has legal implications. And I believe if we take a look at what's happening at the NUPW, it's not something that we should take lightly for the future if we want to grow our organization. In fact, the word election only appears in our bylaws 3 times. And all 3 times that the word elections appear in our bylaws is in reference to re-election. So we need to codify the election process for our organization. Another challenge we have is not having a firm grip of our membership list and having accurate auxiliary information for our members. Our current list even lacks information for persons who have served on the board of the BFVA. This is not good enough given our mandate. And finally, we live in the time of information where if you cannot be found by a Google, Facebook, or Instagram search, you do not exist, frankly. So it is of the utmost importance that we as an organization, like the organization that we are, have a strong, unified online presence. Many would like many things from the BFVA. However, the BFVA and any organization cannot be all things to all people. But what we can do is be the facilitator for all of the interests of our stakeholders. So if we, as the BFVA, are to be facilitators for all of our stakeholders, we as an organization must structure ourselves in a way to best facilitate that. With that said, I am going to move on to communicating our 2021 goals. Our three, we have three goals. And one critique I have given of ourselves as an organization in the past is that we have tried probably to be too lofty in our goals, especially in the scope of 1 year. And I think if we keep it simple and relatively achievable, we will be well on our way to being more successful as an organization. So our three goals this year, given all I have said, would be to revise the bylaws, regularize our membership, and work out how we are to have a website on a permanent basis. So I'm going to go to each of these just a little bit to give you an idea of what I mean. So first, with the revision of the bylaws, I'm suggesting that what we do is codify our elections so that they are formal and consistent, because legitimacy of leadership is important. Further to that, what we should do is restructure our board in a way that it organizes itself to meet the needs of our constituents or our members, of those who have a stake in the audiovisual sector. So what that could mean, for example, is that we will now have 3 second vice presidents, of which one will be responsible for those matters of production and financing of local productions. The second one would be for production and financing or an international scope or international relations. And the third second vice president's focus could be on technical standards and education. The way an organization organizes itself, I believe, is very fundamental to its success. So if we should structure ourselves in a way that each member of the organization, seeing the industry from their particular point of view, have a point person that they can talk to about their particular need, I think the association within itself will become more flexible with addressing the needs of the wide gamut of our stakeholders. And that's one area. Another area could be the tiers of membership. We need to address our tiers of membership. Today I had about 5 or 6 people messaging me about becoming members of the BFVA. And we have always had a challenge as to answering, when I pay my $100 a year, what do I get? Right? So if we, for example, formalize our tiers of membership, meaning an associate member, meaning anyone who has a general interest in the BFVA, once you just signed up, no payment, you are a member of the BFVA, an associate member. And then above that, we can have general/student member. And these are people who would pay and get the privilege of voting, sitting on the executive, getting access to certain information or workshops at discounted rates and that kind of thing. That would be one aspect of benefits for a general member. And finally, what we can have above that is a professional member. So before, there was no designation between a general member and a professional member. And I'm recommending that this becomes a change where once the person meets the credits criteria, they will have the privileges of receiving tenders through the BFVA and notices of other things at a level that a practitioner could benefit from. And that will be ways that we could view to revise the bylaws. Secondly, for our second goal with membership regularization, since we would work to fix it in the bylaws, with the problem that we have right now with not having an accurate list of our membership, we will work to actively rebuild our membership list with holistic information, not just a name and a number and an email address, right? And finally, addressing the problem of visibility, we will work out a way to have a permanent website one of the challenges, this is the second, the association has attempted to have a website twice. And due to the change of a board, all of that effort went through the window. And what we need to do is work out a way in which, regardless of the change of the board, that website permanently stays. These three goals are relatively simple points that we can achieve as an association. And if we are to achieve them, it would set up a good foundation to build onto the other goals that we all believe that the BFVA should address. Okay? And if we were to make these changes effective, we will also be able to easily address the gamut of people in our association. So how do we plan on achieving these three goals? Over the years, there's been a lot of discontent and contempt of the Barbados Film and Video Association by practitioners. Often the question is asked, what can the BFVA do for me? And my answer to that is nothing. The BFVA can do nothing for you unless we all come together and actively work in building our industry together and building the association to build the industry together. Often, all of the goals and the work to be accomplished by the BFVA is left on the backs of the 11 people who volunteer to make up the board. And these are individuals, more often than not, are professional practitioners in the audiovisual sector themselves, and they need to work as well to make money. And they need, and by the nature of our work, we often cannot plan when our availability will be, or we risk not being able to make an income. So we as an organization, all of us who make up the organization cannot expect the 11 volunteers to move heaven and earth for us. I think that is being unreasonable. I have often critiqued, however, that the organization, the BFVA, we have not worked out ways to actively have members participate in the workings of the association. And I personally believe that the days of the passive member need to go away, where everyone could actively be involved in some one way or the other in the association. Because if we all want the industry to develop and we all want the benefits of the industry and the association, we must actively work together to achieve this. Therefore, we will be creating 4 subcommittees, of which any interested person can join. And we will talk about them right now. So we're going to be creating 4 subcommittees. And the 4 subcommittees are going to be the Advocacy and Bylaw Review Committee to address the bylaws this year, the Membership and Outreach Committee, whose aim will be to, actually, let me go through it. So the Advocacy and Bylaws Review Committee is the first committee. So the general aim of this committee is to draft policy to the government of Barbados and the private sector, and to review and propose amendments to the bylaws of the BFVA. This year, what we will be hoping to accomplish with this committee is to update the election process, the tiers of membership, the handing over process of one board to the other, and to formalize having standing committees. So at this time, these 4 subcommittees are ad hoc. We're making them, but they're not going to last forever. We need to formalize committees so that we can have standing committees so that members can have active ways they can participate. The truth is that not everybody can dedicate their time to what it requires to be on the board of directors of the BFVA. However, somebody could give a 2 hour here, a 3 hour here a month, and we're in a subcommittee. And that 1 or 2 hour a month, or 1 or 2 hour a quarter, could add so much cumulatively to building up the capacity of the BFVA. All right. So our first committee that you can volunteer for is the Advocacy and Bylaws Review Committee. The second committee is the Membership and Outreach Committee. And the aim of this committee is to plan and execute policies and initiatives to address the participation and welfare of the members of the BFVA. The BFVA is much more than just a group of professionals together. We ought to be building a community if we want to talk about real sustainable development. So much more than just being able to find opportunities for members, actively looking after the general welfare of our members, even in small ways, is something we ought to work toward. Let's say a person has a loved one die. There's no reason the BFVA shouldn't be sending a card to that person. Or a person has been ill and so on, we just check up on them. That may be small or maybe sentimental, but it goes a long way in building community and building sustainability. So if you feel that calling from yourself, this will be the committee for you. So the 2021 objectives of this committee will be to develop the fields of information that we're going to capture for membership and to create a portal for the members to enter that information. We are going to revise and update the list of members of the association and collate their information in a single repository. And one additional thing that this committee will do is to produce a report from the members of their expectations from the association, as well as how members propose that they can contribute to the association. We often, I find as people often ask, what can this association do for me? Without ever once thinking about what can I do to contribute to the association. And I think we must think about our contribution as well if we want the association to be sustainable. The third committee will be the Public Relations Committee. And the aim of this committee is to manage the public image and perception of the BFVA, in addition to raising the awareness of the association's events, policies, and plans to the general public. So the 2021 objectives is to at least, at the bare minimum, create a homepage for the website and another page for people to get in contact with the BFVA. But I think what is more important is for the BFVA, this committee, to create a manual for the update and maintenance of the website. And I think that will be one step going a long way in ensuring the continuity of the website. There are other things like financial considerations and so on that need to go into this, but primarily this committee will be working out how can we make our website stay up despite the change of board. And finally, yes, there will be a festival committee. And the aim of this committee in general is to initiate, plan, and execute the association's annual Visual Media Festival, as well as the Visual Media Awards, which we call the VIMAs. But the 2021 objectives will be to execute a television/streamed film festival and to initiate a list or database of Barbadian films. We as the association, I believe, have a responsibility to be the repository for the motion picture narratives of Barbados. No one else is doing it, and I think it falls into our purview, and we ought to do it. So what we will start with is at least having a list of as many as we can of Barbadian films, their genre, their directors, and where the public can access them from. And speaking, having worked on festivals before, very often after the festival, Barbadians ask, I like this, where can I watch this? And it is not that Barbados doesn't have any films. It is that we have not actively worked in creating a place for the public to access films. And I think that is something we as an association can work on. So how can you sign up? I am going to put this link into the chat. This link is also going to be emailed to you. And what this link is a form for you to fill out so that we can start our process of rebuilding our membership list in a more holistic way, in a way that captures a bit more information. So you don't necessarily have to go run there right now, but we are going to allow you to help us build back our database. And at the very bottom of this form, there are check boxes for you to say whether you want to be on one of the committees or all of the committees. That's up to you. I'm not sure how many of you want to do all, but that is available to you. And anyone who is interested in being a member of the association, this is the form that they will fill out. So the Barbados Film and Video Association has the potential to take us all of us, to the next level of our endeavors and taking motion picture in Barbados to the next level. But it can only happen if we, as an association, clean house first and then build a strong foundation on which to accomplish this. And by building up the association and building up ourselves, we're going to build up the industry together. Thank you for indulging me. And at this time, myself and the rest of the board will take on any questions that you have. So I will ask you to raise your hand and we will call on you if you have any questions, statements, anything you want to say. If there are no questions,
I'm sure they are. Who's going to go first? I won't go first. Come on, folks. I'm sure you have a million questions to ask. I know you lot. I see you all there. So come along.
even if there are no questions, we will also entertain statements. Anything you want to say about your general feelings. Well, my question to you all is, what do you all believe the BFVA should be offering you as members?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. I don't have an answer to that question right now, but
Yeah.
I will say that the whole presentation seems very achievable and well organized, and with direct specific goals, I think are good and can be achieved, and I think will definitely improve the organization. Definitely.
Thank you very much.
So,
Is that it, Liz? Okay. Travis, your mic is unmuted. Okay. Anyone else? What do you believe that the association ought to be offering members or the film community in general?
Mario.
Hi, Riv.
Hi. Good night, everyone. I think we need to look at opportunities. I've been talking to CBC. I see Joel Ford is in the house. I think it's been 3 previous occasions we've been trying to draft an agreement with CBC. I think it's about time we do it, and we help with the development of the membership to develop local shows, because it's only after we start developing shows that you can move to that next level of carrying your product outside. If you don't have a market at home, or you're not producing at home and someone else says, so what you've done before, you're stuck. It's a good platform for us to work with CBC and bring through these up and coming producers and get it onto Channel 8. I think this is important for our growth. That's where I started. I started there with Runboat. And since that, I moved from one thing to another thing. And now I have 3 shows outside of Barbados. I think it's needed. And I think the role of the BFVA is to assist the membership with developing and even like some aspects of quality control. We can't put it in CBC's hands to be looking through all of these programs and coming back. I think we can help with that aspect in moving them to that level and getting, because the more producers, the more product coming out of Barbados, the more opportunities all of us are going to have. I was talking to One Caribbean Television yesterday, and they said, yeah, they'll gladly put our content on regional TV, and you can own all of, 50% or more of the advertising inventory. So and that's on a regional level. So there are opportunities. We have to take advantage of them. We have to move forward fast and quickly and work with these organizations, because I see everyone thinks the online, but really and truly, I don't really make money online. I've always made my money through television. Online is a secondary, another stream of revenue down the food chain, but I don't see online as my first option in anything I do. All right, that's enough for me. I'm talking too much.
That was a very good contribution, Riv, and I do believe that. And I don't want to preempt Jewel. I know you're here, but I think if we do achieve that finally achieve that relationship with the CBC in a formal way, that it will go a long way in developing the industry. I will speak frankly that I think one of the biggest problems with our industry as it pertains to narrative content, fictional narrative content, is writing. And I'm not sure what we can do to get more writers writing. There are some writers in here. I know for sure our assistant secretary, treasurer, is a writer herself. But I think unless we start getting stories to paper, we will not move forward as it pertains to our narrative storytelling media. We can have all the cameras in the world, all the sound equipment, all the lights in the world, all the actors, but if there's nothing to shoot, we are still going to be in a problem. Does anyone else have a contribution? Either a statement as to what the industry should be doing, what the association should be doing?
Andrea, unmute your mic. Andrea, just unmute your mic and go.
Okay, right, me. Basically, I just want to say it's like we are basically reinventing the wheel in terms of shows on CBC, because CBC in the 70s and 80s had a lot of local shows. They had quiz shows, they had comedy shows, they had wonderful hysterical talent shows. I don't know where it all sort of drained away at what point. I wasn't aware of when it changed. I just know it suddenly changed. And we need to go back to that. In those days, it was CBC were doing all the productions themselves, but that doesn't seem to be possible nowadays, or probable, or maybe that's what they were looking for 3 or 4 years ago, was for us to go to them with ideas, and they would work out a partnership and contracts would be sent out. But Penny and I applied for one of those pie in the sky ideas, which they said was fantastic and it was going to go to contracts, and that was the last we heard. So I think if there's a really concerted push now, I think we can make CBC relevant again.
Thank you. Jewel, your hand is up. I think you're going to be a good follow-on to this.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for inviting me, Riv. 2 things. I think part of the challenge with CBC in the past has been the management of developing local content. There was a mindset that whatever content we needed could be developed within CBC. And the reality was, even at the time when we had 10 producers and directors, they could not possibly develop content for a station that is on air 24/7. We've gone from 10 to 3. So the capacity to develop content for a 24-hour station is far less than it was before. I must say that I am thrilled that I see several young producers are reaching out to me. They have content and they want to have it on Channel 8, and I've been working with them as much as possible. The days before, where we insisted that you had to pay for the airtime, we don't do that anymore because we appreciate that the market is tight. We offer revenue share. If a program is half an hour, that means it's 24 minutes of content and 6 minutes of commercial airtime. We split it 50-50. You bring your sponsors. We'll try to get our 3 minutes sponsored. All we ask is that you tell us who your sponsors are so that we're not all tapping on the same door. I received a document from Andrea looking to partner with the BFVA on a film festival later this year. I'm very interested in that. But I think there's a real potential for CBC and the BFVA to work together. I know we've tried it before, but sometimes it just doesn't come off the way you expect it to come off. It doesn't work out the way you expect it to work out. And at the end of the day, I appreciate that this is your livelihood, like how it is mine. So telling you to do a 50-50 revenue split sounds really good on paper. When you go out there in the market, it's tight and nobody wants to offer you the payment for that commercial content. You still have to pay all the people that worked on the production. I tell the staff at CBC all the time, television is a team sport. It's not like radio where it's you, the music, and the microphone. TV is a team sport. So any production you do, however small, still calls for a raft of people, all of who want to earn from their craft. So what's needed, I think, is for us to just sit down and look at what the options and opportunities are so that everybody can make a living from their craft. We will start small and work our way up towards that. But I think the potential is there for projects between the two organizations. It's just for us to determine what those projects are. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Jewel. And as everyone heard, and I want to emphasize that you no longer have to pay the CBC to have your content up. They are accommodating rev shares. So do not be intimidated to approach Jewel to get your content up. That's right, Jewel?
Romaro, you mean approach
Right.
the BFVA, approach the BFVA. Yeah, not Joel directly.
Understood. Vaughn Lee.
Give me a minute.
Sure, no problem.
One quick thing too. I do think that Revelino was right when he talked about quality control, because there's some standards that have to go in place. One of my challenges in working with independent producers, and I get it from in-house producers too, everything that comes to CBC has to go through a quality check process. That means it has to get to us. The quality control department has to look at it. If there's a spelling error, if there's any error at all, anything in it, something doesn't add up, whatever, you have to send it back to you for you to correct it, to send it back to us for us to check it again. That process needs time to happen. And way too often, even though you have a contract that says it has to be within CBC in 48 hours before broadcast, on the day it's due to broadcast, I am still now asking the person, welcome to the program, we can get it. We ain't get the trailer. When they send it, it gonna miss it, it gonna send it back. They're all coming down to airtime. So if it's supposed to air at 8 o'clock, all up in 4:30, 5 o'clock, you're still trying to get hold of the producer to ask them to make the correction to get it back to you. That has to change, because it puts a lot of unnecessary pressure on both parties to do this. And imagine you have a 13-part series and you're doing that every week, one person. Imagine you have contractual arrangements with 10 local producers and you're doing that for 10 people. It is exhausting. So you're right in terms of the setting the standards and the quality control. You may have a show that's great on YouTube, but the standards that the audience expects from YouTube is very different to what they expect from broadcast TV. And while you may have a YouTube show that has a lot of followers, you'd be amazed how it will not pick up on broadcast television, not because there's anything wrong with the show, but because people have different expectations of the content, the look of the show, etc. But those are things that we can work on together. That's all.
Thank you, Jewel. And as a part of the deal that we are looking to work out with the CBC, the BFVA will help facilitate the quality control so that eases the CBC because we want a symbiotic relationship. And I think the BFVA providing the services of course quality control, especially for younger producers, newer producers, would be very, very helpful and educational to newer producers as well. Thank you very much, Jewel. Von Lee, your hand is up next. Your contribution?
Beverly, I've had my hand up for quite a long time, but sorry, it's Penny here. I don't think you're seeing me up here in the top.
Oh no, my view is very different. I actually don't see your hand up. Von Lee, would you indulge Penny, please?
Yes, good night, everybody. It's really, really great to see all of you here. I see a lot of familiar faces. I've seen faces I haven't seen in a long while. So really, really thank you guys for coming out and showing your support and just giving us your time. One thing I just want to say is the importance of just networking. I feel like we have to, this is at a crucial stage where if we don't come together and we network and we reach out and especially after this meeting too, you know, we come and just see what each other's are, what projects we're working on, what we're trying to do. And I feel like the association, this moment right now is a really good example of just us coming together and actually starting that process. So I just want to say networking is very, very key to this process, this building. We have to build, we are here to build this industry and also function in it. So, you know, networking is very key. And yeah, that's just what I want to say. Big up everybody, love and light, and hope you guys have a good day.
Thank you very much, Von Lee. And I do think networking is very, very important for our industry. As Joel said, it is a team sport. The audiovisual industry is a team sport. So not only collaboration, but I also think that mentorship across the board would be very, very helpful in developing and maintaining standards. All right. Thank you very much, Von Lee. Penny, you said your hand was up, but your hand, I don't see your hand up. Do you have a contribution?
I'm not going to keep it up. I've had it up for too long. Can I just make a couple of comments? Sure. Thank you for a very well thought out presentation and some very good ideas. Two things I want to mention. Some of those committees I've seen before, and you're going to have to find a method of encouraging committees to do work because they will fall by the wayside. You will find that they will not do the work that they say they're going to do. And so you're going to have to find a method as president and as a board to encourage your committees to do this work and to meet regularly in order to report back to you. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And believe me, some of those committees I've seen in my 9 years with the organization, I've seen before, and some of them have just fallen by the wayside. The most effective one was the advocacy committee, and I'm glad to see you brought that advocacy committee back. The other thing on a different topic completely, and I'm really happy to hear this discussion about CBC. It's been a long time. When you talk about the BFVA controlling quality control, you're going to have to be, it's a very sensitive issue, and you're going to have to be very careful in dealing with new members who feel that they are the new Spike Lee, you know, and point out to them some of the problems they may have in their production. People don't like to hear that, particularly Asians. They don't like any kind of critique. So you're going to have a very sensitive approach to doing that. I think it's necessary in order to, one thing, to cut down the time that people like Jewel have to spend correcting errors. And another thing, to make sure that your film is nationally and internationally sale-worthy. So just a thought about that kind of approach to quality control. It's something that has always been part of the BFVA mandate, and it's the hardest thing to make work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Penny. Yes, I anticipate that it isn't going to be perfect sailing as it pertains to these subcommittees. But it is my hope that since the mandates are very specific, that it gives those who volunteer something direct to aim toward. That is my hope. And we will see how that pans out when December comes. Additionally, that is true. I do take your point about us having to navigate carefully how sensitive people can be as it pertains to critique and quality control. And I do take that point, and I do think that is something we ought to consider. Thank you very much, Penny. I see Shez JPHP. I don't know your name. You can go ahead.
Oh, hi, everybody hear me okay?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, hi, my name is Shez. I am a film colorist here in Barbados. I'm pretty new to the BFVA, and I just came in, I got the invite. So from a new person's perspective, what I would say I could agree with is the education, especially from my field. I think that's key for our standards, and also the emergence of, I don't know if I want to use the word agent, but there's the creative world, and then there's the corporate world, and then there's the in-between. I believe even for television, audio, the emergence of individuals who could understand and link this creative to a particular corporate brand, even understanding the notion of analytics, understanding the clientele, who you're keen towards, the demographic. I think that will also help creatives, help us to create content geared towards individuals so that even the corporate world, once they can see the views up and people talking about they're willing to invest, which will then help to benefit the industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shez. I'm glad to hear that there are colorists working in the industry.
Yes, I can hear you.
There we go. Yes, I'm very happy to hear we have colorists working in the industry. And you're correct. I think it would be useful, but education generally is helpful, but specifically education on dealing with different types of clients. And you're right, corporate clients are very, very different now working with purely creative clients. And especially for new practitioners, understanding how to navigate the two, I think that would be very, very helpful. Thank you for your contribution, Chaz. Rav, your hand is up again. You're next.
A comment, Mr. Anderson, your dog has become a star. Are you aware that your dog has become a star? Point that out. It's wonderful. No, don't do that. He's quite wonderful. He's been pacing back and forth for the last 5 minutes.
Well, we had talked about the relationship with CBC, but I think, just sitting there thinking about it, because everyone can't deal with that 50-50 deal, is if a structure can be worked out where when that person comes to CBC, we work with someone within sales and marketing, within their marketing department, so that they can give them their ideas on how to sell this. It's just like when I had Rumboat. We sold Rumboat in so many different ways. Even a new show that I'm developing now, we're trying to sell it in different ways. And it's working with that person, because we're creatives. We're not here to try and, a lot of us are not here to try and sell the product. We need someone to help us. So within that whole agreement, it should be, we have those meetings with sales and marketing. And I think that's important within the whole thing. Even further to the quality control, I think I've had a show on CBC now for 43 weeks. And we've never had to, Joe has never sent me back to change anything. We get it in dead on time. Every Friday by 2 o'clock, we have it in there, except for the day of the hurricane where we got it a few hours later, about 2 hours later. However, that opportunity at CBC caused someone to call me from Flow to try and do a similar show for them. And this was based off the analytics, where most people can't even check the analytics, because Flow is like a web server where you're dropping from each channel is like a website, so they could tell when people leave, come, whatever. and they do telling me the analytics on the show, which I had no idea. And that's why I agree analytics is important within this whole thing that we're doing. And that's now allowing me to go further with the show outside of Barbados, or even, create a different version. So I think a lot of opportunities to start with us at home on CBC, but we have to sit down. We may even have a little small team to help people look at the opportunities for advertising, marketing their actual product. It can't be just a quality control. It has to be a whole support system that we're giving people. All right, that's enough for me.
Thank you very much, Riv. And you were totally correct. Creatives are not all, one second, right? Creatives are not all business people. And I do think if we work out a mechanism to link the creatives with producers and salespeople, that would go a long way in everyone making money in the industry. So I think I take that point. We need to find a formal way of linking creatives, producers, and sales. Thank you very much, Riv. Portia, your hand is up next. Portia?
Yep, there you go. Hi, everybody. I'm happy to follow Riv with this comment. Joel, are you still there?
Present.
Joel.
Still here.
Oh, good. Good to see you, girl.
Good to see you too, hon.
Listen, has CBC ever had, or does it now have, as part of its policy, really actively taking local shows? Or is this only a matter of when you can do it better? When times are hard or it looks bad, then you take them. I'm asking because I know of various ministers who have said, well, we have to have X percentage local shows and all that. And it's never really happened. Yeah. What I'm hoping for is a real, from now on, a real consistent arrangement. Yeah. I think that is something that we have to, if necessary, try to get you all to agree to. It can't be just when times are hard, that then you bother to look outside. Yeah. I think this is something that you personally want. And it would be great if you could work with us so that we can get it done. Yeah. Another thing is I feel very strongly about people who have to sell a product really understanding what the product is. It would be fantastic if your sales team could at least spend an hour on the set of the thing that they're going to sell. Production is real different from a pair of shoes or a handbag. And I think your sales team misses out a lot. And I think maybe their minds would work in a different way. They would connect the product more with a potential partner if they actually knew what it was like to be on a set, to be in a studio. How do you feel about that?
Portia, one, I can only speak to On My Watch. Now, as head of television, if you look at Channel 8, I think the only thing we have now that is international content are movies. Other than that, all of our content is, and our children's programming. Other than that, all of our content is local. As for the marketing department coming on the set, the studio is downstairs of the marketing department and they don't come on the set. So I'm not sure how you're going to get them to come on your set. They don't see that as.
Will you give me your blessings if we tried? You
definitely have my blessing.
Amen. I'll take it. I'll take my chance. I see Penny got a hand up. My thing is Joel, we need to be in a position where local content is not a last resort. That's all I'm saying. And yeah, I'll take you up on your blessings for that. Fighting the marketing department. Penny's got a finger up. Thanks, Joel. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you both. Andrew and then Penny. Andrew Jamet.
Hi, good evening. Everyone can hear me?
Hear you loud and clear.
Yep.
Okay. Yes, everybody. Thanks for having this meeting. I like the presentation. That was a very good presentation. I just want to talk about BFVA in terms of complementing that television aspect. I don't want to, because of the technology and so forth, where it's going, I think we have to also look at that aspect as well, as a complement to our TV skills, skills that we will use in the future, and skills that the younger producers are now looking at. Skill sets such as, you have your data analysis, understanding that we have to be in this to do something. Making money is one of them. So we have to understand our data, where is it going, who our audiences are, who are we selling to. And one of the fastest ways of doing that is looking at the data and looking at the social media aspect of these things. As a complement, again, to your TV situation. Online, I used to have a television program as well, online, and there was an online aspect to that television program. I had someone reach out to me from California, and I was inducted into a YouTube organization where I was able to make monthly money from having that opportunity on television as well as online platforms. That was a couple of years ago, and we benefited greatly from that situation as well. So again, we have our Barbadian situation and complementing, showing our Barbadian situation to the world as well, understanding that relationship by looking at the data. Quality control, these days, because of the competition online, I would say that's even tougher to navigate that space, having some of the highest quality works, having cameras, and the cameras are smaller, the lenses might not be expensive, et cetera, but story, scripting, all of these skill sets, we also, if BFVA can offer, as you were saying, offer these skill sets, because these are skill sets that there are some that are in the past, and there are skill sets that will take us into the future as well. Scripting, understanding camera, understanding audio, good audio, understanding what you're selling, confidence, all these things, narration, all of these things take your production from being C-class production to A-class international standard production, right? Project management, tools, and use of the technology. And I guess I'm sort of like someone who's come from a technological background, entering into television background, video, streaming, that sort of. So I have a different perspective when I look at these things. I go from my technological coding back into my creative ways. So I just want to offer that as someone who's been in a technology stance, coming to the television and streaming era, and so that there are others resources out there, there are skill sets that we need, not for now, but the future, and these can also complement or television also television aspect, and make ourselves more marketable to the world. And there are also ways I personally do have ways too as well to be able to extract online funds from people from directly online too as well. So you have a product, you want to sell it online, you have people put in a credit card and the money is sent to a Barbadian bank, no problem. So I just want to say that we have the technology is here. We have people that have the skill sets within the organization, not only television, but other skill sets too. Maybe it might be a better process of understanding everybody's lane to say, okay, cool, you can do that, you can do this, and then offer this to the organization so people know that there are skill sets there that people can learn. And then it drives the quality of the not only the organization, but the persons in that organization. So that's my contribution for today.
Thank you. I want to start with the last thing first. Are you saying that you have a mechanism for direct sales to consumers where the money can go directly to a Barbadian bank account?
Yes, I do. I do have that. Yes, directly.
Okay. I'll be speaking to you because I think that would be helpful. If we could facilitate that for members, I think that'd be very, very, very helpful. And make transactions, especially in this time, very, very easy for folks. Not just for selling mass content, but let me give you an example. Recently, I had to do a funeral, right? And because the folks cannot come in for the funeral, their way of contributing to the family was to pay for the funeral from overseas. And I think if I had the mechanism to accept credit cards that could go directly to a Barbadian bank account, that would have made that transaction very, very easy. So I think it's very useful, not just for mass content going out, but for that one-on-one transaction, especially if you want to talk about, because Barbadians media practitioners are not just operating in the Barbadian space, they're operating in a global space.
Exactly.
So if we can facilitate transactions from international places, that'd be very, very helpful. So we will be speaking to you about that a little later. I do take your point about offering more opportunities for people to sharpen their skills in story and script specifically, because of all the skills, that one would be the longest lasting, because regardless of how well your technicals are, if your narrative form does not capture the audience, then it just looks pretty, but it has no substance. And I do take your initial point that producers and content creators can consider how to have their television programming complement online material. And I do think that is a very valuable contribution. Thank you very much, Andrew. Penny, you were next.
I worked in Canadian television for many years, both the national broadcaster, which was the original CBC, as well as city television. And the only reason that CBC was able to take the opportunity to increase the production of the local industry was that the government mandated that they had to have 25 to 30% of their programming done from outside of the CBC. That is the only way that it's going to happen. If the CBC here is mandated to have to accept 25 to 30 or 20%, whatever number you feel would start it off rolling. We have to mandate that they have to accept 20 to 30% of their programming is done outside. That is the only way that we're going to establish this relationship on a firm footing, and the only way that it will help the outside industry. If this had been done when CBC first started, we would be a lot further ahead with our professional people. That's my first point. And my second point is, let us not forget building our relationship with the National Cultural Foundation, because they now control all of the state money going to production. They're the only agency now that you can get any funds, if you're getting funds from the state, is through the National Cultural Foundation. So I think we need to build our relationship with the NCF as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Penny. I think your first contribution would tie back into what Joel was saying about before her time. I don't know how much before her time, but before her time. I do think that even if it is mandated, it will still be the onus on us filmmakers to produce that content. So it works both ways. But I do think that mandate would push, but it would force the CBC to continue to ask for that content actively. So that could be something that we could think about in the future. And yes, you're right. We do need to foster a stronger relationship with the NCF, especially, but not only as it pertains to getting funds, but as it pertains to the cultural development of Barbados through the motion picture art form. All right, thank you for that contribution. I see no other hands up now, and I think all of these things tied into our AOB. Is there any other business? Jewel, your hand is up. Go ahead.
I just want to say this, and I've said this publicly in other spaces, so I have no qualms about saying it here. It has been my experience that independent producers like to tell their political friends that they got all this content and they can't get it into CBC. And then you call them and you say, so tell me what you have. Well, I have one episode and it is 7 minutes long. You have to appreciate it as somebody who is responsible for scheduling content, including repeats. I have to schedule content for a station for 24 hours, 7 days a week. The schedule is divided into half-hour blocks. I can even do 15-minuters in some instances. But when I take your 7-minute program from you, I still have to find another 23 minutes to make up the half hour, or another half hour to go with that to make up the 1 hour block. So I think all of those are things that we need to discuss and to understand when you bring your content to a television station. Over the last, this would be the 4th year, I've done something called the CBC Independence Film Festival. Every year for the month of November, I provide a 1, sometimes 2-hour slot every Saturday night for local films. And people will call me all excited. They have a film and they want to know if I want to show it on CBC. The film is a short film, it's 5 minutes. I still have to find other content to go with that to make the slot. So this is not as simple as it sounds. And from a local producer's end, you have to understand entirely what the broadcaster is looking for in order for you to provide it. If you don't understand what the broadcaster is looking for, and you're only seeing your side of it, then you're always gonna have a challenge. Because we have to work together. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I can't do a 2 hour of all shorts, but I still have to have enough shorts to make up the hour or the 2 hour or whatever. That's it for me.
Thank you, Joel. And to add to that, I was a film student and I made shorts, but my position is that we can't build an industry on short films. I do think that we as local filmmakers do need to begin pushing ourselves to make longer form content. So the short films do have their place, but we cannot, and I'll be frank, I speak to Rivelino about this all the time, and he speaks about this all the time. We can't build an industry on short films. We can't build an industry on short films. So, but the challenge is that it costs money to make longer films. and that's understandable. So it is a circular problem that some way, somehow, we need to find a way to break that cycle. So Brandon's hand is up, Andrea has her hand up physically, and Portia. So we go in that order. Brandon?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Good evening.
Well, two questions. My first one will be in regards to the screenwriters. What are you doing to, try to attract them, to get them together, at least gather them, per se? Because I remember the same BFVA had a competition last year called Scriptorama. I did submit to that. Uh, it was supposed to be a September sometime going on. I did ask again if it was happening in early in the year. Um, I don't believe they said they were preparing to do it, and then up to now I haven't heard anything back from it. But I particularly was interested in that one, not because of the grand prize. I mean, because one of the things that were gonna happen, y'all were planning to, or the committee should say, was planning to get the script writers together in one place so they can talk, and that was a nice opportunity I was planning to use to meet other script writers and to get an idea of what they're thinking, what are their thoughts, even in the industry, and what are their stories they're wishing to tell. That never happened, never played out. So that, I mean, I was just done messaging, asking anything about that after. I would just like continue on with my life because literally film weights on no one, and I had a whole set of other things I was planning to do. So if anyone can answer that question on what happened to that, or if y'all are planning to bring it back, or you make it sustainable, something. But I mean, even during COVID, it was still possible because you could have like right here a Zoom platform, Zoom meeting to do that, and I would have still been able to meet some persons. The second question, it may go into third, but second question would be, I've heard all you talk about incorporating CBC and getting our shows on CBC. Well, what if I have content that can't be shown on CBC, or my audience is not watching CBC? Are y'all planning to assist in, help setting up a platform or getting me to another platform, helping me move the essentially the script, or the script for me, but or the production if it's produced, to helping them on another platform essentially? Because CBC, yeah, is one platform, but you can't, and all content cannot be shown on CBC. And I understand that, and numerous of my scripts I know cannot be shown or cannot be aired on CBC. And I think you made an interesting point just now, just the last from me, where you said that the industry cannot be built on shorts. For the number of years I've been receiving emails and looking at the festival, the events, I should say, some like festivals, y'all have been advertising for short films, short screenplays, short this, short. And I was like, well, this is, back then, this was like 3-4 years ago. And back then I was telling myself, but this is not really the way to build an industry, because when people sit down to watch TV, they sit down for half an hour, sit down for an hour, they sit down for over an hour and a half. That's standard. We basically acclimatized ourselves to that from watching international movies. So when we sit down and if it's a television series, we expecting it to be, a full hour. If it's a movie, we expecting half an hour. You do shorts, and did make an interesting point that, shorts may be cheaper to do, but unless you have a whole bunch of them that you can show in a set of time, then it really don't help the industry or help anyone per se, I should say. But that's just all I wanted to offer.
Thank you very much, Brandon. I believe we need to follow up on what happened to the Scriptorama last year. Um, the festival director did that happen during the festival? However, the person who would have been responsible for coordinating that is right now not actively on the board. So I will need to follow up on that. The was the brainchild between myself and former Vice President Ramel Hall. And my complaint was always that if we need to build an industry, we need to have scripts, because if we don't have scripts, there's nothing to shoot. So the first year that we had Scriptorama, we advertised it as widely as we could. And there were only 2 script submissions. I think that was yourself and that was Penny. The year following that, we raised the prize money, advertised it even more widely, and we again only got 2 scripts. I can be wrong, but I believe the Scriptorama last year, even though the prize money was the largest it has ever been, because it was in conjunction with the NCF, I think your script was the only submission, but I don't know what happened after that. So we will have to follow up on what happened to that competition. For sure, the 1 week challenge did happen, and those films were made and screened, but the Scriptorama seemed to have not gone on. I do take your point that we as an association can look to work with other platforms or develop our own platform, as I had mentioned earlier. After our festival, when we have screenings, people often ask, where can they see these films? And we can never give a definite answer for anyone. Some people have their films on Amazon. Some people have their films behind a paywall on Vimeo. And some of them have them free online on YouTube. But we don't have a single repository for which people can pay or for free watch Barbadian films. And I do think that's something in the future that the association should look at. And yes, I don't think we can build an industry with short. I don't think that shorts are unimportant. Shorts are very, very important. But as you said, people are expecting to sit down and watch long form content, especially if they're going to watch it on a platform like a Netflix or Hulu and so on. They're expecting long form content. If they want to watch a series of shorts, they will go on YouTube. So you're right. Thank you for your contribution. I said next was Andrea. Andrea, your mic is muted.
Andrea, mute.
Who's finding it?
There it is.
There you go.
I disagree about the shorts because for 2 reasons. The first reason is that pulling together a crew to work on a short film is good for everybody's skill set. You know, rather than doing a full-length movie and sort of, you know, gradually coming together as a crew and all of that kind of thing. I mean, some of the best directors, producers came out of commercials for years and years in the UK. People like Hugh Hudson and Adrian Lyne, and they brought something new to the commercial world, and then they came and gave something new to the movie world. And as I say, I think for developing our skills, I think shorts are a very good idea. And also for recognition, because Parachute Films, Sana Alsop's Moonchild, it has been chosen for the LA Film Shorts. And from that, the Oscar nominations are chosen, or that's one of the festivals where they're chosen. And from that, they were also invited to join another LA festival. I can't remember which one exactly. So that shouts Barbados's name loud and clear. Pedro Welch is in it, so there's a historical, you know, gravitas. And I think we should really, I don't think we should dismiss it. I really, really don't. I watch a lot of short films on YouTube, admittedly, from all over the world. And I think it's a great medium. I'm very happy to sit down for 10 minutes or 15 minutes and you know, see different films. So that's my point, 2 points.
Thank you very much, Andrea. I do agree. Creation of short films is good for everyone's skill set. And there are many people who started off in shorts, making shorts and going on to big films. In fact, there are many who started in commercials and music videos that went on to make movies. And the immediate one that comes to my mind is Michael Bay. And I encourage shorts. I don't dismiss them at all. I think what I mean to say is that financially, we may be doing ourselves a disservice by only concentrating on shorts and not having that push for more longer form content.
Right.
But thank you very much, Andrea. You were right. All right, so we're gonna have Portia, Xavier, and then we're gonna end with Jade. And I think that will be our night to keep us on time. Okay, so Portia, go ahead.
Thanks, Romario. When I was listening to Joelle, my other business hat went on, and what I'm hearing is that people want to have their stuff on TV, but they don't understand how TV works. It would be wonderful if at some point between Joelle and Riv and the BFVA executive, if we could come together and do a presentation to membership. Because all people are thinking of is just what Joelle says. I got my film and can't get it on CBC. All 2 minutes of it, God bless them. They don't understand the other aspect of it. And I think we can find a way of presenting it in such a way that the other aspects of it, the business aspects, are exhilarating. Because when you think of pairing your product with a particular business, particular organization that may be interested in funding, in having advertisement, it can be exhilarating. So Joelle, at some point, expect me to come knock on your door for that.
No problem.
Thank you very much, Portia. I do think that it will be very helpful indeed for us to have some form of workshop talking about what form content should take for broadcast. What is television friendly? And I think that's something we should keep in mind indeed, especially with the festival coming up. Xavier and then Jade. That's it for tonight.
Hi, good night, everyone. Hi, my name is Xavier, and I'm coming from the creative side mostly, recently into business development and marketing, right? So my thing is mostly about the advertising side of what is being offered, how to get the content to connect to corporate, right? How to ensure that there is a stream that's going back to the creators as well. And a lot was being mentioned tonight about the broadcasting standards, right? Which is very important because obviously everything that goes onto TV has to follow a certain set of qualities, right? And these workshops, I believe someone also mentioned about partnering with NCF, right? Developmental workshops so that a lot of the youth who are new to the field, who might be interested, who did not even know that advertising through film is such a huge industry, right? Internationally, they would then be able to gain access to this information and be able to develop themselves, right? With the right tools and the right resources. You mentioned about, yeah, the workshops and the classes. You could also get into events as well. Well, more events. I don't know what you guys would have been doing in the last few years, but, you know, collaborations with some of the other government subsidized agencies, the BCSI, BTPA, BTMI, whatnot, just so that there is a sense of community, which brings me to the next point, being the communication that persons are requesting information about things that went on last year, Scriptorama, right? The whole buzz with writing scripts is that eventually the scripts go to film, right? That's the whole buzz, that's the whole hype, that's what everyone wants. So we have to ensure that whenever these winners are, nominated, that they all have the chance to have their scripts, reach that final destination of a full feature production in a sense, right? So communications, standardization, then from like the sales and marketing side, obviously you can leverage a lot more of the social media. I noticed that the NCF has been doing that a lot. I'm questioning how much time people do spend on the web pages, but social media is still good to go. You can actually get a lot of your analytics and data through that. So the same films that you'll be highlighting and you can then, if you get funding, run ads on and have them shared with a larger audience. Run ads in Brazil, run ads in North America, run ads in London, right? So that aside from just building up from the seed, building up the seeds being the youth, that are looking for the information of how to connect themselves to the right standard and quality through, for instance, CBC and NCF, right? So you collaborate and partner and help to use these platforms as a cultural and a creative developmental base. And from that, you will get funding, I believe. The quality of and the value that will be provided by the collective corporate coming together, right, is going to draw enough attention that you will start to gain revenue from persons outside of the region a lot easier, because you're also putting the product out there. You're putting the creative works out there into the international audience, right? So mainly just 3 points: the sales and marketing, to leverage a lot of the online resources through digital marketing. You mentioned web, and I will say social media as well. The second one, the communications, being all of the events, the public relations type activities, the workshops and the classes. You can get people to pay a small nominal fee for a 12 part course, right? And I believe there are institutions here, the Barbados Youth Empowerment. I can't remember exactly what division they are of the ministry, but they have a series of classes that they offer at 3 months, 6 months at a time. And these persons receive certificates at the end of this process that then certify that they are professionally able to conduct themselves in certain settings. And maybe you can start to offer, what do you call it now? When the kids leave school and go to the internships, maybe you can start to offer more internships at CBC, right? Even this organization as well. And I would even recommend to NCF. So generally there should be more internships going on for a lot of the creative sector, because they need access to figuring out how to work properly or how to standardize their work, right? An immersive fellowship program, right? So yeah, it's just the sales and marketing, the communications, and then the standardization. With those three taken care of, I believe that the BFVA definitely has a lot more stead and more possibilities to gain revenue, right? Because that's the issue. You mentioned about NCF taking up the entire pot. Well, that's because they're actually trying still, right? And they're trying. I'm not saying that the FVA has not been trying, but trying in a sense of helping to develop the culture from the ground up, from the root up, right? Because that's what our value is going to be 10 years from now, 15 years from now, right? So they saw that and they grabbed that, and that's why persons are attaching themselves to NCF, because of the future value that they would have been able to gain for themselves, right? So I think, yeah, that's about my part for now. I hope I contributed in some way.
Thank you very much, Xavier. And do you work in business development, or generally is that what you do? What do you do?
Hi Tiffany as well. Yeah, so I am a business developer, and I do marketing as well. I do a bit of social media marketing in particular, but I do teach social media for the government. My interaction with producing film type, but mostly in particular ads and I guess live shows with a lot of the creatives have been my only interaction. I've not done any large, huge scale feature films, but I am an avid supporter of advertising, of using the platforms to showcase film and media, and then connect the creative to corporate, right? How to connect the artist to the brand and form value between the two, because that's what's missing. That's what a lot of both parties don't understand about each other, right? The creative does not understand the business side, and the corporate does not have, vice versa. So there needs to be some kind of connection in between, and it's all to do a lot with knowledge sharing, right? And building community, I believe, right?
Thank you very much, Xavier. That is very useful to know what you do specifically. I remember going to a music workshop some years ago when they brought in Beyonce's father about improving our music and so on. And the one takeaway I got from that workshop was that the answer is always in the room. So you are a producer, but you're looking for talent to record. They came to the same workshop that you did. You are a singer, looking for a manager, looking for somebody to produce your music. They came to the same workshop that you did. And I think this is what the BFBA is. the BFVA, what we're doing right now at this moment is finding the answer in the room. I'm very sure that everyone in this meeting right now, if we were to work together, we can create something great, because the know-how from the development stage of production all the way to the distribution stage of production, there is expertise right here in this Zoom room. And I think what we're doing here is toward that. So that's why I had to ask you again if you work in sales and marketing, because as you said, there are many creatives who don't know or even want to deal with the business end, and there are many business people who could care less for the creative end, but they know how to sell product. And if we find that way to create that synergy among us right here in this room, I think we can go far. So thank you very much for your contribution. And finally, we have Jade.
Hello, good night. Can everybody hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. So my comment is just in relation of building film with regards to the fictional feature aspect of it. I think in terms of if you want to chart a comprehensive vision going forward to build feature film, I think one of the things that the BFVA would have to look into is in terms of broadening who you see as partners and also broadening who you see as regard to like your timing schedules, because CBC is great, NCF is great, but you can't expect NCF to be the only persons funding film. And if NCF aren't the only persons funding film, you need to have an end destination that corporate understands and appreciates in terms of tying in and building revenue stream. So it shouldn't just that you focus on, okay, I'm gonna get my film on CBC. It should be, I'm gonna get my film on CB in terms of approaching corporate, in terms of product placement and advertising. It should be when you present your proposals, you're looking at how do I as a filmmaker and how do I as a film association, how do I create linkages with banks so that a filmmaker can say, okay, I can go to a bank for a loan if I can say, okay, I know that NCF has agreed with me that they're going to give me X portion of funding. So they become a form of surety so that when I go to a bank applying for a film loan, the bank can say, okay, you are this level of risk, and if you can put up X money, given the fact that NCF has already given you a promise of some form of grant, then we can foot this bill. Once you have that, then you can go to a corporate sponsor because they will say, okay, you have a loan, you have NCF backing, you have this certain amount of capital that you're putting up. To then, I would say, take you seriously in terms of, okay, we are going to provide that product placement advertising. And that's something you start looking at from the beginning of your filmmaking. You don't look at that when your film is ended. And for corporate to, again, I would say, take you seriously and buy into that notion. CBC shouldn't be your only distributor. It should be, okay, how do we create linkages now with Olympus? How do we create linkages with Globe Drive-In? How do we create linkages with Line Grove so that a filmmaker now can say, in terms of packaging their product and giving their product as a business investment for a corporate organization, they can say, maybe, you know, there's Heritage Month, my film is going to go to Sheraton first. My film at the end of this year will go to CBC when they do their films in November. So a business person looking at your film as a product will now say, okay, it's going to show here, so my product is going to be visible here. It's going to show here. Maybe you go Sheraton, you go Globe, you go Line Grove, and then obviously you have the film festival and you have CBC and you have all these things tying in. So when a business person, because the reality of the Barbadian corporate environment is that corporate is very risk averse. So for corporate to buy in and start funding film in terms of product placement, in terms of advertising, in terms of sponsorship, they will need the confidence that, you know, not only is this going to be made, but it's going to be seen by a broad cross section in terms of your audience and your viewership, and it's going to be seen by several different people in several different markets across these various different classes and cultures and ethos that you have in Barbados. So in terms of who we see as our partner, like NCF is great and they do phenomenal work, CBC is great, but you shouldn't be, as a filmmaker and in terms of building industry, just looking at them as the only partners, because at the end of the day, film is, feature at least, is very expensive. So you need a deeper pocket and you need a harder backbone than just one or two people. And also, if you can get corporate, as I said, involved and to have a degree of confidence, then you can get insurance companies to have a degree of confidence. And once you can have insurance companies having a degree of confidence, and it makes it easier then also for you to get a greater degree of financial leverage in terms of getting loans, and then in terms of being able to just shore up the public's mindset. And when I say the public, I really do mean the corporate public's mindset, regardless of, okay, film is a business. It's not just an art, it's not just a hobby, but this is a business. This is an industry that we are building out. And so we are building it out. We are catering to our market. And, you always say, you think global and you act local. We cater to our market and they can see, okay, it's going to hit this, it's going to hit, cinema first, whether it be Sheraton, whether it be Globe, whether it be Lane Grove. After it hits those theaters, it's going to go on CBC and it's going to run for a particular period of time. And then after it hits that, then you can think, okay, I have a track record that I can prove to international buyers, whether it be Netflix, whether it be Amazon, that, hey, my film has shown in my country and it's done well. You should buy this so that the diaspora that you target in your nation see my film, because it showed in my nation, but only people who are here could watch it. And this becomes a product that you could leverage. And then having that kind of mindset, it would change not only how the BFVA approaches development of feature films, but also changes the way the filmmakers approach development of feature films, because you start planning from the end. You don't plan from, oh, I'm just going to make a film. You start planning, okay, I'm going to make my film. How am I going to get money to make this film? What kind of things do I have to put in place? Who am I going to reach out to first? And when you start thinking, when you start thinking in that kind of mindset, you plan better, you plan longer, and you understand the value in terms of planning, because things always go wrong. But if you've planned it well, you always have your first backup, your second backup, your third backup, and it goes, and so that you actually end up, I'll say 85% of the time, producing a product that can sell. It may not be what you started off envisioning, but because you planned well, you have something at the end of the day that you can say, you know what, this is a business, this is something that you are investing in. And then it makes you target corporate at the times that they are, I will say, thinking of planning money. Because, I don't know, but it's just my personal experience that when it comes to targeting corporate, you have to, I will say, attack them at the beginning of quarters. So if you're gonna, and that means you plan before. So you're gonna look at, okay, January, I'm gonna send in my proposals because that's the beginning of the year. Or April, I'm gonna send in my proposals because that's the transition between financial years. And when you start thinking in that mindset, it means you're planning with the intention of generating revenue, because you're not going to sit down and plan and then don't expect to get something back. And then what that helps then is that it helps NCF to help you better, because they know your product better and they can help you tweak it, adjust it, and make it marketable. And it also helps CBC to plan better because, again, you've gone through your product and you should know it better in terms of them also being able to find advertisers when they show your film. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much for that
Beautifully
contribution,
said.
Jade.
Beautifully said.
I must also add that when I was studying film at UWI, Jade was my production management tutor. So again, the answer is always in the room. And of your initial contribution, Jade, I do believe that is the job of the BFVA, building those linkages for the filmmaker. And yes, we will start with the CBC, but I do believe that it is our job as the BFVA to build the linkages for other forms of distribution, be it theatrical, be it online, be it international sales, regional sales on television, international sales on television, international distribution theatrically. I do think that that is our responsibility as a BFVA to build those for the filmmaker. Further to that, I do think if we are able to build those bridges, it makes the picture clearer for everyone across the board, be it funders and filmmakers, that film is a product that can make money for everyone involved. And something that I think we often forget as well is that the Cultural Industries Development Act provides facilitation for tax write-offs. And I don't think that we have sufficiently utilized that component of the act. So Ramona, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I apologize. But can you speak very briefly toward that component of the Cultural Industries Development Act? And Ashley, I see your hand. I don't know if you're asking as Ashley or BCSA, but I'll end with you. So Ramona, please.
Hello, everybody. You were asking about the tax incentives in the Cultural
Tax
Industries
incentives.
Development Act.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you find those in section 31 of the Cultural Industries Development Act. If you don't have a copy already, you can check the website ncf.bb and you go to about and look for business or creatives and it's there. Or you can just scroll right down to the very bottom and there's a bunch of other links and it will say CID Act. So you're looking at section 31. That speaks to the tax incentives that are available to anybody who invests in a registered cultural practitioner. To be a registered cultural practitioner, you need to go to the National Artist Registry, which is located at barbadosartists.bb. That's ARTISTS.bb. Several of you here are registered cultural practitioners, Romario included. And you can be a registered cultural practitioner as an individual or as a company or as both. So anybody who invests in any registered entity, whether it be an individual or a company, they can claim that on their taxes. How that works is not a rebate. What it does is reduces your assessable income. So let's say, for example, the city government was able to tax you on $25. That's the amount of money they can tax you on. But you invested 10 in Romario, who's a cultural practitioner. Then you claim that and it is reduced to 15. So 25 minus 10, they can only tax you on $15. That usually reduces either the amount of tax that usually reduces the amount of taxes you can pay. For large companies, it can take them into a lower tax bracket so they pay less, or for wealthy individuals, it can bring them into a lower tax bracket. We have a sort of tutorial on how to do it with screenshots from the BRA website, well, from the TAMIS website in the NCF frequently asked questions. I can tell you definitely that it does work. I have used it last year and I used it again this year. So in order to make that investment, you just need to have an agreement between you and the investor. So if I was investing in Romario, we just have a simple agreement that says I'm going to give Romario X amount for if he's purchasing equipment, or if I'm just simply investing in his film. I believe Stocks and Miller and Diastra Brown have a new film that is out that they are soliciting investment for. So those people that do take up that offer to invest in that film will be able to claim that on their taxes. But to be clear, it is not a rebate. A rebate is when you receive cash back in your hand. You don't get money back in your hand. This will reduce the amount of taxes you can pay. And in the event that you were supposed to pay $10 in taxes and you have 11 and your claim ended up being 11, it will just zero out. You won't get a rebate. So this is just basically to reduce your taxable income for any individuals or entities that plan to invest in you. And I think it's one of the very few remaining tax incentives. A lot of the ones for charities are no longer eligible in terms of they want things, even with parents can only claim one kid, and it can only be one parent. So because it's one of the last remaining tax incentives, it is very attractive to people. And because it's been around for a while and has actually been used and shown to work, because when it first came out in like 2015, 2016, people were a little skeptical about taking it up because they hadn't seen it work. So once they were able to see it work, it's now available, and it is attractive. If you have any questions about it, I will be back in office next Wednesday. So you can feel free to give me a call at 417-6638, or you can just go to the NCF website, ncf.bb. All of my contact information is there, and you can contact me. I also have a WhatsApp number, which I believe would be 2328496. And I'm a little fuzzy on the number because I just got the phone last week. So it takes you a little while to memorize the digits now. So I think I've covered everything on the tax incentives. There also are some incentives for persons who are doing capital works for artistic buildings. So let's say you were building a gallery, or you were building a sound stage or something like that. You can get some tax reductions on the costs on your capital expenses, like wood and building materials. That is in the section before that. That will be in part 5. I think that's section 20. I believe that's section 28 or thereabouts. So you can also look into that. There are also some incentives for training and marketing as well. There's a question that what I will address also quickly is a question that I get. If grants are taxable? No, the grants are not taxable. So if you get a grant from the NCF, what happens is there is part G, which is a cultural practitioner section. You would put that in as income, and then all the things you spent the grant as, you will put that into the expenses section, and it should zero out. So you won't be taxed on it. Again, if you have any questions, you can just feel free to contact me. But you do have a good while before you have to file your taxes again. I think that is it. Anybody have any questions they want me to answer?
Well, Ramona, we're going to come back because we're supposed to have a session with you either way.
Yes.
Right? So we will have that set up in short order for this information for our membership. But thank you very, very much for that summary, because I know there's a lot more that you can say. And thank you very much, especially for those of you who are the business side of filmmaking. This is very useful information for you to keep in your back pocket. And I also believe that we as the association should do a session on filing your taxes, so that you could ensure that you write off your correct expenses correctly.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ramona. Finally, we're going to have Ashley. We have to keep this one short so that we finish on time.
No problem.
You're breaking up for us, Ashley. At least for me.
My God, you covered. All right, good night, everyone. So my name is Ashley. It's Lee for short. During, my creative time, I work for the Barbados Coalition of Speaking. So we're a business support organization, and we basically deal with different members across the service sector. So from the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners to Cost Cap, like we deal with everybody. We are planning to be in touch with the BFVA, as I mentioned to you, Romario, before, because what we are trying to do for 2020 and going forward is represent the interests of our service providers within the service sector. So you guys talked about like doing workshops, educational opportunities, getting assistance with funding. Those are all things that the BCSI offers. So you will be hearing more from me, and I'll probably be trying to contact you and present something to the board to see how we can work together. I've just been taking notes for the whole evening on both what you've presented as the board and then what the members have said that they're interested in doing. So hopefully we'll be partnering and working together some more to make some of these things a reality for you guys. So that's it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do. Thank you.
Very much, Ashley. And yes, we will be working much more closely with the BCSA, especially since that is where um, our new address will be in some time. But more on that later. Um, so that is it for our meeting today. I know there's a lot more that could have been said, but we will have another general meeting coming up. Before you leave, I would like all of you to write your name in the chat, one, and I am going to put the link for the form that I would like you to fill out. If you've been a member for 13 years or you just heard about the BFVA and you want to be a member, I'd like you to fill out this form, please, everyone. And it's also the way that you're going to make yourself available for committees. Thank you very much, everyone. Type your name, sign up the chat, and have a good night. Thank you for being with us.